IMSA fans, we have our dear friend Tommy Milner, longtime factory driver for the amazing Corvette racing team, Pride of Michigan. We also got some Pride of Bowling Green, Kentucky behind us as well. This is not the Corvette C8R that you did so many phenomenal things with here in IMSA. This is a brand new creation. Brad Miller Motorsports, General Motor Corvette, creating the first true big customer Corvette Z06 GT3. Let's take a look at this. Folks want to see it.
Yeah.
Folks love it. We got folks staring at it all day long. Let's talk about your new hot rod. The shape, a little more aggressive than what we've seen before.
It is, yeah. I mean, this car, so on the surface, very similar in a lot of ways to C8R, but functionally, it's almost entirely all new. I guess on the outside surfaces, the only thing that this car shares with C8R is the greenhouse. Every other surface, bumpers, everything else is all new for this car. So a lot of that obviously is driven by regulations. Having been built for GTE class and now for GT3, very similar in a lot of ways, obviously different in others. So, basically what that means is a bit more downforce with this car. You see the front splitter's a bit bigger, a bit more aggressive on the dive planes. I think the biggest improvement, so to speak, for downforce is the underwing, is the floor. That's where a lot of the improvements came from that side.
I love the fact that it looks like you could cut yourself on some of the surfaces, and I mean that in the best way, because a race car shouldn't look soft and round like a blob. This has a little bit of stealth fighter look to some of the shapes. Seriously, I love this, Tommy.
Yep, for sure. Yeah, like you said, I mean, everything like any race car would be has a purpose, has a meaning. Everything's done for a certain reason, these cars.
So we come along to the side, and having made the move with the C8 platform, moving that engine behind you, you look at the shape of the car. It is gorgeous, it is flowing, not as if its predecessors weren't with the engine in the front, but this car looks incredibly special. But as to your point, it's all about purpose. You look inside the cockpit here as well. Tell us about the insides and the fit and the ergonomics, because you've been an integral part of the testing of this and the development of the car.
Yeah, for me, the part that feels the most familiar with this car versus C8R is the cockpit. So the layout of the dash, the console, very, very minor changes from C8R. That was a big focus for C8R, was making the cockpit, the interior of the car a bit more ergonomically friendly for us drivers, which is beneficial now with this car being a customer car, more customer car focused. There didn't have to be a lot of changes there. So from that side, that is the most, it's what I see normally anyways from the race car, but it's also the most, let's say, carryover in that sense from C8R. So a couple little adjustments here and there, simplifying some things, getting rid of some function buttons that weren't really necessary for a customer car program. But yeah, from the inside, it's still a little, I mean, I'm big, I'm 6'2". I'm probably one of the bigger guys that will end up driving these cars. And still a comfortable fit for me. We have adjustable pedals, which we had with C8R, that carries over now. The big change there is the way that we adjust that is now a little bit more easy for a driver to change. So
the interesting thing too, Tommy, is everything you've done in years past has been about the consolidated two-car factory effort.
Right.
You're having now to think about, what about our friends at TF Sport or AWA on the customer side, thinking about what's best to make this car good for them as well, knowing that it'll be professionals like yourself and the AM side too. That had to be an interesting adventure for you, having to think, not, again, when I say selfish, that's not a bad way, but you're thinking pure performance for yourself. Now you're having to think, how do I help develop a car that has a wider range for everybody?
Right. Yeah, it's, in some ways, that was probably the hardest part of this process, was knowing that, the systems, the processes, the way that we go about making changes on this car has been very similar in a lot of ways. It's been an evolution from C6, C7, now to C8. And so we know how all these things work, but with this car, we knew that we had to turn this car over to somebody who's never driven a Corvette before, most likely, and then have to understand and for it to make sense for them. If I want to change TC, where is that? And making those things a little bit more simple.
That's traction control, y'all.
Traction control, yep. So from that side, this whole development process, I would say, has felt very similar from what I remember from C6 to C7, C7 to C8. The biggest change has come with these functional changes about this car also has an each clutch, which is new. So there was a lot of the operational side from a driver's perspective. How do we make this car make sense for somebody who's never driven these cars before? And that was the biggest change for me. And that happened pretty early on in the process, knowing that, the way that we operate is very sort of insulated in some ways. We're the only ones that ever seems to sort of have these cars in the past. Been a couple customer cars, but pretty much just been Corvette Racing, Pratt & Miller. And so we knew that our processes may not make sense for everybody. So we needed to look at that, refine that, and make sure that makes sense for somebody else.
Let's talk about the engine.
Yeah.
So in previous generation Corvettes, all of them being front engine, raise the hood, and you see this behemoth of America staring at you, which we love. With this mid-engine layout with the C8 platform, this Z06 GT3, it looks like a backpack, Tommy. I don't know if I've ever seen a mid-engine motor pushed so close to the driver. It almost looks like it's over, like you probably pet it while you're driving because it's purring away, but 5.5 liters of V8. Tell folks about not only the amazing motor in this, but the location. All about performance.
Sure, of course. I mean, the engine itself is very similar in a lot of ways to C8. I mean, it's the same structure, 5.5 liter flat plane crank V8, like you said. But this one shares, I think it's about 80% production car parts.
Wow.
Which was not the case for C8R. So this one sounds a little bit different. From the outside, the airbox is different. Like the airbox that you see there is the production car, essentially airbox there. Some of that is rules driven. Some of that is also, this is a customer car. This, the timelines for the run times for engines, gearboxes, things like that have to be expanded a bit. Understanding this is a customer car, it has to make sense financially as well, and has to be in line with other customer cars as well. So I think that was one of their keys for this car, was to make sure that engine lifetime is as good or better than what other car manufacturers have to offer. So they can achieve that with that 80% production car parts carryover. It does sound a little bit different. I think it sounds better. It's got a little bit of a deeper, throatier sound to it compared to C8.
I love
C8R. It's got a bit more torque than what we were used to with C8R. So yeah, again, a very familiar car for us as drivers, for the crew, for the engineers, but it is a whole new package. It is all new, and it is functionally a brand new car with a lot of little bits of, again, same architecture, but a lot of little bits to change just to make it that much more difficult for us, for development, to learn all new things. But again, using a lot of our knowledge from this car from the past 4 years.
It's a beauty.
It's a lot of fun to drive, I'll tell you that right now.
Make sure you follow along with us on IMSA's official YouTube channel, and follow IMSA Racing on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and X. We're going to be doing some pretty cool stuff with some pretty cool people with some pretty cool race cars. Visit IMSA.com to hear the action called live, and download the official IMSA app to follow the timing and scoring information as the sessions take place.